Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. Today's video features the Uncanny X-Men, number 267, cover dated early September 1990. So this particular cover is a collaboration piece between Whilce Portacio, Jim Lee and Bob Wiacek. And I think the breakdown of work here is that it is penciled by Portacio, finished by Jim Lee, so he's working in the details, and then inked by Wiacek. Not sure, of course, who the cover colorist is. I don't know that I particularly like this color job here, or the decision to obscure what's happening in the background there with Storm. But the use of duotone on the character Leanne's tights there, that's a pretty interesting choice. Looks good, I think, but otherwise the colors are strange, and maybe the composition too, and maybe that might be an indication of something that is a context for this particular issue, which is the legend goes that the ex-editor's office were under extreme pressure, deadline pressure, to get an issue out, and they turned to Jim Lee's studio, Homage Studios, which at the time consisted primarily of Lee, Portacio and the inker Scott Williams, and asked them, was it possible to produce an issue in 1 week? So the guys decided yes, and they put together the 22 pages with the cover in 1 week, working together around the clock. So there mightn't have been much in the way of opportunity to redo the cover, or for Bob Harris, the editor, to ask for a different cover. So this is the one that we have. Okay. So this is the splash page, and the title of the story is Nanny. We get the credits on the very last page of the issue, but the breakdown of labor here is different from on the cover. So the breakdown is Jim Lee is a penciler, and he's doing rough breakdowns, and Portacio is the finisher, and then Scott Williams is inking everything. But I've seen some interviews by Lee where he reminisced about this project, as you would do if you put together an issue in a week with a team, where he indicated that in some cases he was inking backgrounds as well. Whatever it took, they even cut pages in half so that the two, Lee and Portacio, could be working at the same time, penciling while Williams was inking. So they did everything they could in order to get this book out in that almost impossible deadline of a week. So anyway, the story is set, or it starts and opens in a long abandoned aviation junkyard on the outskirts of Cairo, Illinois, as is indicated there in the caption. The writer is, as always, Chris Claremont. And this character, Liane Chen, is a doctor, but she's under the control of an old X-Men villain, the Shadow King. And she's got these hounds leashed, and she's setting them on Storm and Gambit, who are hiding out in this airplane junkyard. So there's the Shadow King, a kind of visual manifestation of the Shadow King, ordering Liane to take Storm alive, and she agrees to that on condition that she can do whatever she wants with Gambit. So there apparently is a bit of history there between Liane and Gambit, which we never learn what that actually was, so it's only hinted at here. So Storm, who has been reduced to a child's age, is operating without full control of her mutant abilities. She also can't fully remember her past as an adult. All of this, it goes back to the ending of Uncanny X-Men 248, which there is a video of on the channel, so you can check that out if you haven't done so already. So this kind of completes that story and gives us the background to what happened at the end of 248, where it apparently is the case that Havoc, in trying to shoot down Nanny, Nanny's ship accidentally killed Storm, but in fact didn't, and we're going to find out what really happened later on in this issue. So Storm uses her powers, diminished though they are, to get the plane off the ground. One of the hounds manages to get aboard, but Gambit uses his powers, his ability to kinetically charge up objects, here the playing card, and uses that, throws it at the hound and blasts him out one of the windows of the plane. So then what happens is another hound gets onto the plane, or is on the plane there, and Gambit emerges from the top of the plane and uses the broom to fight this hound and boots him off the fuselage of the plane. Falls there, presumably to his death, you'd have to imagine. Another hound attacks Gambit. He deals with her too, and then finally they're free of the hounds and they're making their way to, Gambit suggests they follow the Mississippi and make their way ultimately to New Orleans, which is where Gambit is from. So back aboard the plane, Storm remembers a time when she was in making her way from to Sudan from Cairo. So she was going south from Cairo to Sudan as a child, and she was hitching a lift, and this truck driver who offered her a ride then attacked her. It's implied perhaps sexually here, and she fought him off and killed him in the struggle, and she feels guilty about it, but Gambit assures her that when she asks, why did he want to hurt me, Gambit says it happens. So then he shows her a picture of the X-Men, which was aboard the plane, and adult Storm there, who she doesn't recognize as herself because, as I said, she's lost her memories from before. And then the plane is attacked by Nanny's ship, and Nanny, a holographic projection of Nanny aboard their ship, communicates that she's come to collect Storm. And then Storm starts remembering what happened at the end of Uncanny X-Men 248. So here's adult Storm having been grabbed by Nanny's ship. And just a note here, this was a convention of Marvel Comics in the 80s, that whenever there was a flashback scene, it was indicated by a change in the panel borders. You get these curved borders of the panels, and that indicates a flashback. It's a pretty nifty device, and it continues on here into the black panel borders. You still have the curved border indicating that it's flashback. And this reveals that Nanny had aboard the ship a shield surplus life decoy model, which took on the patterns and features of Storm, adult Storm, and which was then left at the crash site. Also, Nanny ejected from her ship a shuttle, and the shuttle, together with the life decoy model of Storm, tricked the X-Men, Havoc and the X-Men, into thinking that Storm had been killed, and was buried then subsequently in the opening pages of Uncanny X-Men 249. But of course, that's not what happened. Nanny had the real Storm aboard her ship. Then we go back to the present here, and Gambit uses another telekinetically charged card to attack Orphan-Maker, who's trying to board their plane there. And this enrages Nanny, and she's also concerned for Orphan-Maker, so she lets go of the plane. And Storm, who's upset and traumatized by the memories she's just had of what happened to her, nearly loses control of the plane, but then she gets her nerve back and is able to control the plane and continue the journey to New Orleans, as it turns out. Okay, so in New Orleans, she has a dream about being chased by this monstrous robotic figure, and going over again to Nanny's side. Gambit wakes her. She throws a knife at him by instinct, and we see here how agile Gambit is. So he's smoking a cigarette, the knife is coming at him, he grabs the knife, the cigarette falls, and he's able in the same amount of time to grab the cigarette again with the hand that's holding the knife. So he moves very fast. Interesting storytelling there as well by Jim Lee. So then he's bought Storm some new outfits, and then they get breakfast, and then they go out and they see the sights of New Orleans and the surrounds. And this is an indication, because at the time this was Gambit's third appearance in X-Men comics. Not much was known about him or his background, and this is an indication that he knows New Orleans and the area, and ultimately it would be revealed that he's from New Orleans specifically. Okay, so what they do is they kind of set up a kind of Robin Hood type operation, where they rob from the corrupt and criminal and give to the needy and poor, and that's how they spend their time in New Orleans. So we got this montage here. This famous image of Gambit was excerpted from this page and used on t-shirts and other kinds of products. So it's one that some of you may have seen in other contexts. Then here on this page here with the 5 vertical panels, we get back into the story again, where Gambit is running from something or someone. It turns out to be Orphan-Maker, and Nanny has disguised her ship as part of a parade there, a float in the parade. So this may be Mardi Gras in New Orleans. Or the ship manages with its tentacles to capture Gambit. Orphan-Maker goes after the ship. Storm uses her powers to follow as well. So she's going to have to rescue Gambit. She gets aboard the ship. And now remember, at this time the X-Men were invisible to computer scanning and any kind of technology, because you'd think to yourself, how come Nanny's ship doesn't detect that Storm has come aboard? But that's the reason why. And this goes back to a gift that was bestowed on the X-Men by Roma in one of the issues. I think it was maybe 225 or 26, around that time period. So Gambit gets free from the clutches of Nanny. He uses charm on her and gets free, but the Orphan-Maker knocks him out and carries him away to maybe reproduce the process and revert him to a childhood condition as well. Then Storm sees the equipment that was used to transform her from adult to child, and again she finds this traumatizing, but she remembers everything, and here she is at the end of this page. So is she going to be able to rescue Gambit in this emotionally traumatized condition? So what she does is she uses one of the armored robot forms aboard the ship, gets into it there, and then basically attacks the Orphan-Maker. And here Claremont is homaging a scene from James Cameron's Aliens, where Ripley gets into the armored mech suit and takes on the alien queen. And this is some dialogue here that recalls that "Get away from her, you murdering old witch," which recalls Ripley's "Get away from her, you bitch." Actually, get away from him there in Claremont's dialogue, of course. So what happens there is one of Gambit gets free. He uses his telekinetically charged cards again. It hits some equipment behind Orphan-Maker, takes him out of the fight. And then that gives Storm a chance to really KO him, knock him out for the count. She emerges from her armor. Nanny threatens to kill her now. And Gambit again uses his Ace of Spades card to attack Nanny from behind. Nanny loses control of the ship, and the ship splashes down into a Louisiana swamp. Gambit rescues Storm from the ship, but Nanny and Orphan-Maker are nowhere to be found, and Gambit says there wasn't time to rescue them. And what he finds then, and what the reader finds out, is that Storm has now fully recovered her memories from before her de-aging. So she still is de-aged, but she has all her memories back. And Gambit says to her, he proposes to her, let's not break up the team, let's go back to what we were doing. And she says she has something else in mind. Tell me, Gambit, have you ever heard of a band of mutant heroes called the X-Men? So the X-Men have all been separated around the globe, particularly after Psylocke took the ones in Australia through the Siege Perilous. And what's happening now in Claremont's run is we're checking in with those X-Men, and ultimately we're going to move towards them being reunited with each other. So there you go. The team, of course, Chris Claremont, writer, art by Homage Studios, Tom Orzechowski, letterer, Glynis Oliver, colorist. I hope you enjoyed this video, taking you through this strange, unusual jam issue of Uncanny X-Men number 267, put together by Lee's Homage Studios in 1 week. Imagine that. And if you've enjoyed the video, please like it, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more content like this.